Ben Bikman, what an absolute honor it is to welcome you back to Boundless Body Radio.
Oh, my pleasure. Casey, thanks so much. We had such a good time the first time. Why not do it again?
Why not do it again? We're up to about 600 episodes of the podcast. You came on episode 30. You were one of the very first people. I never will forget the email that you wrote back to me and said, I'd love to be on your show. We had no listeners, nothing going on. You took the time to be on our show. So meaningful. People like you and Bill Schindler, I'll always thank. And it was just super meaningful before this chat to be able to thank you personally off air. And I want to just do it on air to thank you so very much for all of your work. The work you put out there was so instrumental in my career. And to see, the effects of, it's not tons and tons of people, but the people that I get to work with and see on a day-to-day basis are my family. You know what I mean? And after giving that advice for a lot of years to now feel like I'm making a difference in my small little corner of the world is really meaningful to me. And you're a big, big, big part of that. So I really appreciate it.
Oh, that means a lot to me. Really, one of the things that frustrates me as a scientist is the inability to take an idea that you believe has value and have it only live within the pages of a peer-reviewed manuscript in a science journal behind a paywall that no one will ever read. And so it's very much been a concerted effort on my part to take these ideas that I consider valuable and share them, get them from the lab, from academia and into the real world. So it's very gratifying. Thanks for saying that. I'm very, very pleased to hear that some of these ideas have been so helpful.
Absolutely. I know you must have hesitated when you first got onto social media and made your short videos that really help people. It's not your, idea to go out and be like self-aggrandizing in any particular way, but you do it in a way that's very valuable and genuine. Everybody, I mean, everybody in this community loves you and loves the work that you do. Just for kicks and giggles, I decided to go back and search the transcripts we have from all of our shows. I get a certain amount of transcription done for free. And I just wanted to see, let me search Bikman's name with a CK and see how many times it pops up. We've done 600 episodes. I have 200 transcripts. You were in over 25 of my transcripts, mentioned by name by some of our guests. That's incredible.
That's amazing. Oh, I'm thrilled. That really is very touching to hear. Yeah, I mean, it's in a way, nothing sort of delights a professor more than when you see that your class is a little bigger than you thought it was. So the fact that I have unexpected students in unexpected places is pretty delightful.
And I was just hoping that if kids are in your class and they're, at least playing on Instagram, hopefully they're at least following you. Maybe if they're not paying attention to you in person, they can at least learn from you while you're on Instagram. That's fine.
Yeah, that's right. So Casey's referring to, for the audience. So you've heard me say this before, Casey. So my lecturing style is very unique. And it's formed quite heavily because of the students, where I learned very early in my career as a professor that I needed to create a lecturing style that could outcompete social media. And so, to your joke, so everyone follows, I've garnered a sufficient following on social media where even if they don't hear what I say in class, maybe they're getting some of what I'm saying on Instagram while I'm lecturing in class.
There you go. Meet them where they are. Even
I'll
if
take
they're
what I can get.
There.
Yeah.
I love it. You recently gave some presentations in Florida that I really want to talk about. John Laspina, in particular, one of our recent guests, was so fired up about your talk. You said your PowerPoint presentation was amazing. I wasn't able to attend the conference. I would have gone had I known that Low Conference Denver wasn't going to be held this year. Heartbreaking. But I was able to watch the presentation. It was really amazing. I love the slides. It was fantastic. Definitely want to talk about that today. But I've been kind of reflecting. You told us your story of how you got interested in some of this stuff. And I wonder if somebody might hear about a scientist who was studying muscle mass and exercise science and all these things that sound really fun and sexy and all this cool stuff. And then he got interested in fat. And fat isn't really all that sexy. It doesn't do anything. It's just inert. It gets in the body. We hate it anyway. But can you tell us a little bit of the story of why fat in particular is so absolutely fascinating?
Yeah. So you really touched on really sort of the early part of my journey. And let me just, as a brief little tangent, which I'm always going on, so I should just stop clarifying them. Everyone expects me to go on a tangent. But if someone were listening who was at the beginning of their career, I would want them to hear this because it was such a time of my life as a newlywed and a young married man, a new husband who was trying to establish a career path that would allow me to be a provider and a protector for my family. It was an unexpectedly crushing weight that fell on my shoulders. Unexpected because I just really did not anticipate what it would feel like to someday anticipate needing to really have a meaningful career that I would enjoy, that would allow me flexibility to be with my family and to provide for my family, most importantly. And so all of this sort of story, it was happening with that backdrop where I really didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And just again, to finish the tangent, it really was the clearest impression I've ever received to this day in my entire life. And that was 25 years ago now. The clearest impression was to follow this path that I'm still on. And I thank God for it every day. Now, at the time, shortly after this path had been sort of made known to me, or just this path sort of cleared itself in my mind, I had intended to go into to continue to pursue muscle physiology and muscle cell biology because of my background in exercise science. I was very interested in muscle adaptation, like a lot of young men are who work out. You know, I wasn't that unique. But then I stumbled on a paper that explained how fat cells start to really behave differently depending on their size. And fat is unique in a lot of ways. One of the reasons it's unique is that there's no tissue in the body that is capable of growing to the same degree that the fat cells are capable of growing. A fat cell can grow to more than 10 or 20 times its initial size. There is nothing like it in the body. And then as it grows beyond the difference in its size is a very stark shift in its function. In a small state, a fat cell really contributes to an overall very healthy metabolic milieu within the body. It improves insulin sensitivity, and anyone can go back and listen to our first discussion to get more on that. It improves inflammation. It improves the production of sex hormones even. But then all of this immediately flips around as the fat cell gets ever larger. Now it's pro-inflammatory. Now it's disrupting other hormone function. It's promoting insulin resistance. But it was the inflammation part, back to sort of finish this answer back to your question. It was the inflammation that interested me the most because in the early 2000s, late 90s, when this paper was published, it detailed this series of events whereby fat mass, as the body's getting fatter, it led to type 2 diabetes. And the bridge that connected it was insulin resistance, but what built the bridge was inflammation. And that became the work of my PhD studies and my postdoctoral fellowship. And even still to this day, I still, of course, focus on insulin resistance. I very much continue to focus on fat cell biology and inflammation as well, where we have some papers just in the pipeline coming out soon, further detailing how inflammation contributes to insulin resistance.